is not. Last season, the Patriots went 1-7 at Gillette Stadium. They've already started the year 0-1. Or 0-2 for that matter. Actually, no, they've 0-1. 9 games. So 1-8. What happened to the home field advantage? I don't blame you, the fans. It's none of that. This team used to hold court at Gillette all the time. It was a home field advantage. Now, nobody's afraid to come into New England. People want to come in New England and beat the Patriots and make them look bad. What happened to the home field advantage for the Patriots? And last year, Bill Belichick was here. So don't say, it was bad. 1-7. They lost the Seahawks game this year at home. Another winnable game. If I pulled all these up for you, you would say that was winnable, that was winnable. And I'll even just go back to last year. The Eagles game, they lost by 5. They had a chance late there. They certainly did. They blew games. They did it again this year. On Sunday, it's another opportunity for the Patriots to get a win where right now the game's a pick'em. The Patriots were not favored in one game on the look-ahead this year. And now they're at home against the Dolphins off a loss, off a short week. They need this win. They should also have the advantage at quarterback. I am already out on Jacoby Brissett. I feel like he can't play anymore. I don't think he's a winning player. Do I think he's tough? Do I think he's a leader and a mentor and all those things? Absolutely. But I feel like he's broken and mentally not making the same decisions he once did. People like Jacoby Brissett. Coaches like Jacoby Brissett because he doesn't turn the ball over. So throwing a pick six doesn't help. Jacoby Brissett's passing yards over the last 4 games, he has 536. He's averaging 134 per game. They're averaging 13 points per game. It's getting worse. But they have the advantage this week. Tyler Huntley will be the quarterback again for Miami. The Dolphins just gave up points to the Tennessee Titans in their backup quarterback, Mason Rudolph. Yeah, you laugh. I'd rather have Mason Rudolph than Jacoby Brissett. But that's who the Dolphins are giving up points to. 31 yesterday. And granted, I think 2 of them were a safety. So 29. Miami has been awful over the last 3 weeks. They've scored a combined 25 points and just 15 total points since Tua Tagovailoa went down with a concussion. The Patriots have at least scored 36 points over the last 3 games, but only 1 touchdown reception to a wide receiver in the last 13 games. That was to Jalen Polk, week 1. Oh, speaking of Jalen Polk and the Patriots receivers, final drive of the game against San Francisco. On 3rd down, Pop Douglas walked off the field. He quit. I hope he didn't called out for it. It's on tape. You can't miss it. You see Polk stomping his feet on the field. I hope it doesn't change the mindset for the Patriots that they can run on the Miami Dolphins. And I'll give you those numbers coming up in a little bit. But Tyler Huntley was not able to ignite that Dolphins offense that is supposed to be so great under Coach Mike McDaniel. I have some concerns the Patriots defense could blow some assignments and Huntley could run by some of those ends. Can the Patriots run on the poor rushing defense of Miami? Can they blitz Huntley because they have yet to get a pass rush in the last couple of weeks? The Patriots are getting outcoached. They have injuries all over. David Andrews, Kyle Duggar, to name a few. The Patriots need a win on Sunday. They need a win on Sunday. They need to do it at home. This is probably one of the only opponents that they'll be able to beat. I don't know if they will. What does Mike McDaniel have in store? They're on a short week. Patriots off for a big road loss. They need this one. But on the other side here, what happened to Mike McDaniel? People were raving about this guy. One of the next great coaches in the NFL. What happened? We'll get into that coming up here on the other side. I'm Joe Murray. Once again, the phone number 617-779-0985. We're on YouTube if you want to join the chat and watch the show as well. And Skaz is back. We'll get his thoughts on the Patriots in San Francisco and look ahead to Miami here. And, of course, what his thoughts are on Mike McDaniel as well. And, for those who really didn't know, the Celtics also will open up the season, preseason this week in Abu Dhabi. But they open up the season against the New York Knicks, who happened to make a big trade over the weekend, which brings up a big trade the Celtics made a year ago today. We'll have all that for you until 7 o'clock before we hand it over to Bruins Hockey. I'm Joe Murray here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Don't go anywhere. There's more.
That was the final call of the Dolphins game last night. They lost to the Tennessee Titans in a horrible game. I had to watch it. I was here. But the Dolphins aren't right, everybody. They're not good. I at least told you last week the Pats might be able to hang around with the 49ers. I still stand by that. Like, getting George Kittle back and making it an individual play was outstanding. It was a great play by them. The pick six hurt. The defense stopped them to 2 field goals early on. And they had a chance for the backdoor cover. So that's what I meant by hang around. 10 and a half points. They lost by 17. So I thought it was more about the way the 49ers are playing. The problem is Jacoby Brissett's declining, and now he's a detriment to the team. And the Patriots don't want to go with somebody else. They don't want to go with a veteran, and they're not going with Drake May. They don't want to go with Drake May, for that matter. So they're going to continue to just throw Jacoby Brissett out there and hope that the line protects, and hopes that the running backs can hang on to the ball, and hopes that receivers can get open. That's really what the Patriots are right now. That's what they are. It's unwatchable. They're unlikable. But there are some things to like about Brissett, certainly. I mentioned he's guy's tough as nails. He gets back up. It's funny, in postgame the other night, myself and Leroy, we were talking about how Rocky would just do that in the movies. Was Rocky really any good? He just could take a beating. I think that's what's going on with Jacoby Brissett. The guy can take a beating. He's been awful. The Dolphins have been worse, if you can believe it. The Dolphins have been worse than the Patriots. I know. It's hard for you all to believe with all that talent of Waddle and Tyreek Hill and all those other players, A-Chain at running back, with Mike McDaniel, the great genius, as the coach, who is getting crushed today in Miami. This guy used to have the biggest stones in the league. He had unbelievable play-calling skills. And now, it's like all his power has been taken away. And what I mean by that is he doesn't have that magic wand anymore. Or maybe that magic wand was Tua Tagovailoa. Was it about Tua, or was it about his system? Why are other coaches in the league who lose their starting quarterback continue to produce and win? Kevin O'Connell loses his starting quarterback, whether you want to see it or not. But Kirk Cousins leaves. J.J. McCarthy's supposed to be the guy. And then Sam Darnold steps up and he's 4-0. Matt LaFleur loses Jordan Love. Packers go 2-0 with Malik Willis. Shane Steichen in Indianapolis loses Anthony Richardson. Here comes Joe Flacco. Why are these other coaches able to do it, but not the great McDaniel? Mike McDaniel's record without Tua Tagovailoa, 1-6. They have seen their offensive production plummet since Tua's injury. And I don't know, they have the best receiving core in the league, right? If you look at it, they have great running backs as well. They have all weapons everywhere. They can't do anything without Tua. And on Monday, what happened? What do you think would happen when the offense isn't moving and their star players aren't getting the ball? Tyreek Hill happened. Frustration on the sideline. Tyreek Hill has just 10 receptions for 87 yards and no touchdowns in the last 3 games without Tua. And late in the fourth quarter last night, Tyreek Hill was screaming and yelling on the sidelines right behind McDaniel. And I think he knew it. He stared straight ahead with a defeated look. He knows the Dolphins are in trouble. And it's tough to blame Tyreek Hill for being upset. He got a big contract. I picked this team to win the AFC East this year. The season is quickly starting to slip away from the Dolphins. We expected it with the Patriots. The season's already slipping away. It's not going to get worse. But for the Dolphins, how important was Tua Tagovailoa to Mike McDaniel's success? Because right now, guy looks like he's on his way out. Your thoughts at 617-779-0985, which is another reason why I think the Patriots need a win this week. Beat the Dolphins, a divisional opponent. Win at home, something you can't do anymore. They can't stop the run, so you will have to run on them. And you have to stop Tyler Huntley and not overrun lanes. And as Devin Godshaw said yesterday, he thinks some players are taking things into their own hands. You can't do that against this type of quarterback. Although you might think he stinks, if Josh Uche runs by the zone, he'll run right by him. This is a big one, and the Patriots will be down players. They may be down David Andrews. They may be down Kyle Duggar. This is one they can win, and Miami's ripe for the taking right now. 617-779-0985. Skaz is back. Hello, sir, Skaz. Back from his West Coast trip.
What's up, Joe? Happy to be back. Very excited to be back. I thought maybe I wouldn't miss too much, but certainly a lot going on over the last week.
Oh yeah, we'll touch on a lot of things we haven't yet. I just wanted your opinion on the Patriots. Their loss. Did you see it? It was bad. And do you want more Jacoby Brissett?
Yes, I was in California for the Patriots loss, so it was unfortunate. A lot of 49ers fans, but yeah, the Patriots they're just a bad football team. I think that was far and away Jacoby Brissett's worst performance as a Patriots starter. He just didn't look good. I'm still of the belief that I don't think Drake May is going to look any better than Jacoby Brissett because of the pieces around him. So I think the Patriots are kind of stuck. I do want to see Drake May sooner than later. Maybe even sooner than I had previously felt before Sunday because the product was that bad. But I also, you can't knee-jerk reaction just because of, how they looked on Sunday. But that was a banged-up 49ers team, and they still just absolutely ran you out of the building. So, yeah, I get it. People are frustrated. People are clamoring for the new toy, for Drake May. But the Dolphins, do you think the Dolphins' defense is an easy landing spot for Drake May?
I do. Because of the way they're playing right now, they still have some players, no doubt about it. It doesn't even have to be Drake May to me. Anyone but Brissett. I think it's what happened. I said this to you weeks ago. Mac Jones looked good weeks 1 and 2. And then it started to slowly fall apart, right? Brissett looked like a guy that wasn't making plays. He looked like a guy that's knows he's the pinata.
And I think the concerning thing for me is you started to see frustration boiling over for the receivers and other players on the roster. We saw clips of Douglas, Polk, these guys getting frustrated when the ball wasn't thrown their way, and that's cracks in the locker room. Like, they're obviously going to put a good face on it. Brissett's going to say, I'm the guy, it's my responsibility, all that, but when they're starting to show visible frustration, I think that's when, as a fan, even as a coach, you got to start to be a little worried about, the message. Is the message getting across? Are these guys going to, keep the train on the tracks? If Jacoby Brissett's going to look like he did on Sunday, I would have a tough time being a believer of Jacoby Brissett if I was the receiver in that locker room.
I would just bring in a veteran to work out. Like, you don't even have to sign
Joe Flacco looked pretty good on Sunday.
Did. I just gave you the list.
Yeah.
And this is my next question for you. What happened to Mike McDaniel? Why is it that Kevin O'Connell's, Matt LaFleur, Shane Steichen, all these big offensive names, right? Why are they able to get next man up and continue to run their offense? But this guy, Mike McDaniel, which I don't know why he doesn't go get Mike White, who's just sitting on the Buffalo practice squad. Maybe something happened there. But they haven't done nothing. They've scored less points than the Patriots this season.
Which, with those offensive weapons, is criminal, especially when you're viewed in the way Mike McDaniel was at the beginning of the season, or all of last season, as the new offensive guru, a guy that's taking the league by storm with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And you could say, oh, it's because of Tua, but Darnold has Jefferson and Addison. That's the same as Hill and Waddle. I think Jefferson's the best receiver in the league, but same kind of idea where you have two stud receivers. There should be some kind of plug and play. Obviously, you're not going to recreate what Tua does because of the timing and how good Tua is. I know people are kind of split, but there's no denying what the Dolphins offense looks like with Tua and now without him. So yeah, I think this is a huge indictment on Mike McDaniel as a head coach.
And what does this mean for Tua Tagovailoa, huh? Guy's a player.
I think it's good for Tua's image around the league and stuff like that. But from just a person standpoint, it makes me nervous that they're gonna try really hard to get him back out there, and you hope he's right before they do that.
I think the best case scenario is they're bad and he doesn't return.
That honestly, like at this point, they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not winning the Super Bowl this year. They're not.
Yeah, can I give you real quick on that? What if they do? Let's finish bottom 5. Aren't they a perfect destination for one of these new quarterbacks that will be in the draft?
Well, I mean, Dion said that Shedeur will only play in warm weather. Basically, you're telling me Miami's
but
not.
Shedeur could throw the ball up in the air to Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill and these guys. I'm just saying, something happened to Mike McDaniel. He's not that bad. Maybe there is a tank going on in Miami.
If they're going to tank, I mean, they got to think about moving Hill or someone like that. I feel like there's been rumors floating around on that on Twitter, but
a whole bunch of receivers getting rumored today. It sounds
Devontae Adams, yeah.
Wow, what has happened to Mike McDaniel? Miami Mike. Wonder if he's wearing the shades today.
Yeah, the whole get up on the sideline doesn't go over as well when your team stinks.
Yeah. I got more numbers on the Pats, but I do want to get into this Jeremy Swayman situation because I know Skaz missed it. So we'll get into that. And the New York Knicks made a big acquisition. We'll do that when we see your calls as well. I'm Joe Murray. Let's get to the headlines here on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Sports Hub headlines.
All right, Bruins continue their preseason tonight right here on 98.5 The Sports Hub. Ryan Johnston will be on the call tonight with Bob Beers. Puck drops at 7:15 tonight when they take on the Flyers. women today.
On the Sports Hub.
Since you say you're a surprise, Cam, can you share any of the specifics here, be it what his ask is in terms of dollars or term?
Well, I don't want to get into the weeds with what his ask is, but I know that I have 64 million reasons why I'd be playing right now.
And I'll dovetail to that. There's been stories around saying he's looking to reset the goalie market. Do you feel that's the case?
I do, yeah. I do.
In context to what? Or?
Well, just what his ask is and what we believe his comp group is are two different things.
All right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Back at 6 o'clock, everyone. No more baseball hour because the Red Sox didn't make it to the playoffs, so now you're stuck with us. We got Bruins coming up in just a little bit. That was Cam Neely. 64 million reasons why Jeremy Swayman should come out there. Oh, what a shot, huh? Didn't see that one coming yesterday. I've given some thoughts on this. We'll get Skaz's in a second here, but just it's hard for me to imagine Neely would lie about something. I always felt like he was a really straight shooter, but he went out of his way a little bit to talk about negotiations publicly. And I don't know if this was to back Don Sweeney, who just a week earlier was trying to defend himself about things that were said on a podcast. But, of course, what would happen next is the agent would respond. But just one thing before I tell you what the agent said. Neely said he asked Swayman directly if he wants to be a Bruin. Swayman said yes. So I don't think anything's going to blow up. I think this time of year is really hard to trade for a goalie, personally. So where are the Bruins at with Swayman? And I just wanted to read the post that Swayman's agent said yesterday. And his name's Gross, which a lot of people feel that way about the fellow. But normally I don't do releases during the media, but however, in this case, I feel the need to defend my client. At the press conference, 64 million was referenced. It was the first time that number was discussed in our negotiations. Prior to the press conference, no offer was made reaching that level. We're extremely disappointed. It was not fair to Jeremy Swayman. We will take a few days to discuss and see where it goes. I agree. I don't think that was fair to Swayman by any means. Here's the deal. Neely comes out and says 64 million. All of a sudden, the media and the public, all of a sudden they think, well, they didn't lowball him. So Neely's off the hook because there's no lowball offer. Swayman looks like the jerk, right?
But you're saying you think it's unfair because you believe the agent.
Well, I believe it's unfair. Whatever the agent didn't have to say anything, and I feel it was unfair for Neely to say anything. So let's say there was no response, guys. For Neely to come out and say 64 million, he's basically trying to tell everybody that there wasn't a lowball offer because I think he's trying to defend Sweeney, who had to take questions last week about potentially being lowball offers or not returning phone calls and things like that. So him saying numbers to the media, that would piss me off if I was a player.
Yeah, and I'd tell Jeremy Swayman, then don't talk about your contract publicly.
Well, there you go.
If you don't want us to talk about it, then you shouldn't be talking about it.
This thing became public. So you're right. And who was the guy who said it, his teammate, that said we don't talk about those things publicly?
That would be one captain of the Boston Bruins, Brad Marchand.
That, I think, might be lost here. I would be me personally, if my boss was talking about my contract or numbers discussed that might not necessarily have been discussed, but wants to make it look like you didn't lowball, that's a dirt move. I'm sorry. That's dirty. But who's the guy who went out on a podcast and said, yep, I'm trying to set the market, and I'm going to marketing school and business school and all that? Good point, Skaz. Good point on that. In the end, though, this is just one man's opinion. In the end, I always back the player. I'll always back the player. In the Bruins' defense, they've always locked up everybody. They've given some really nice contracts to guys who probably didn't deserve it because they wanted to keep the core together. And where did management get? They had one of the best teams, the best team ever, regular season in history, and they get bounced in the first round. They fired the coach because they didn't like the way he talked to some of the players. One guy thinks he's worth this, they think he's worth that, and it's a handsome deal. So in the long run, do I look at it? Are the Bruins, have they done everything for their players and met the contracts and everything? Yes. And now have they publicly gone out and said $64 million? Even though now it's reported that it was somewhere in the $60 to $62 million range. You know, because Swayman wants to be in the $68 million range. They're close, but at some point this thing's gotten public now, and I think Swayman's probably going to have to eat the deal. Because the Bruins, they didn't lowball. They haven't lowballed. They paid everyone. And what did they get in the long run for this one? So, in a way, I normally defend the player here, but I think now it's Swayman that has to come down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. And for those exact reasons. I mean, Marchand, McAvoy, Pasternak, like they paid these guys. They pay their guys. They've proven they do that. The Torrey Krug, a guy that was represented by the same agent as Jeremy Swayman. They had difficulty, finding a number, getting a number done. What happens? He's no longer here. I hope that's not the case with Swayman, but you got to look at the agent a little bit too. And if Swayman, was being honest with Neely that he wants to be here, at some point you got to, I know your agent's trying to get the best deal for you, but if you want to be here so bad, you want to be a Boston Bruin, at some point you have to say, hey, let's, we don't need to take him to the wall for every last cent. And, another thing on Jeremy Swayman, he hasn't played that many games. He's been in a great system with Vezina winning goalies in front of him. He's been a backup and then played in the postseason where he was good, couldn't cover the short side in Game 7, but people love glossing over that. So it's just, you're going to spend $10 million on this guy who's played, 80 games or whatever it is, something like that. So I like Jeremy Swayman. The Bruins are a much better team with Jeremy Swayman. I'm not breaking the bank for a goalie who, might be a diva.
Yeah, you mentioned the agent. People bring up Torrey Krug. I bring up Nylander. William Nylander sat out until November.
He's had multiple guys that have done that. So, yeah, I think it does have something to do with the agent.
Is the Scott Boras of hockey?
I believe that is what they call him, the Scott Boras of the NHL.
You know what? Maybe the whole Swayman thing on the Mark Lewis podcast pissed the Bruins off. The spit and chicklets thing somehow is getting up everyone's craw.
I find it very funny.
Me too. I just got a guy who just sent me a note just now. I can't believe you don't understand this. The reason he said $64 million was because Spit and Chicklets put numbers out there. Where do you think they got that information from? Blah. I think they got it from Swayman's camp. I've said this all along. I know people who talk to Jeremy Swayman. Swayman is out there speaking about these things. Literally. I reached out to someone today, and I said, hey, could a trade be possible? And this person said, not the time of year when people want goalies. That's what I got on that one. So if people are saying, oh, trade, I don't think this is the time of year people do it. And maybe there have been trades around this point. But, what's Swayman worth on the open market? Interesting. I don't know. 8-8 always sounded good to me. Sounds like a nice little handsome deal. But there has to be other layers to this we don't know about. Because if it's over $5 million in an 8-year deal, just sprinkle the money in. But the Bruins feel like they've given a nice little handsome deal. It's on Swayman at this point, it sounds like. 617-779-0985. Let's talk to Tom in Beverly. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Joe.
Hey.
Hey, I really wanted to just thank Scats for pushing back on you a little bit on this Swayman contract. He did bring it public.
All right.
I think the Bruins have a right to defend themselves. And I also agree with him that, I don't think he's yet a top premier goalie in the league based on time.
Yeah, take that out of it. Take that out of it, Tom. Is Jeremy Swayman worth the $7-8 million a year. Yes.
What's the top goalie? What are the top goalies get now?
Nine, and the guy with the Rangers is going to get 12.
Yeah, I think the $8 million, and I think everybody's coming down on, Neely for rounding. I mean, maybe he should have said $63 million, but
Neely did say 64, and they were never offered 64. Just putting it out there.
No, I know, but what did they offer? 7.9.
But between 7.8, 6 between 60 and 62.
So you're over 8 years.
Listen, it's not my contract, but those .234s here mean a lot to Jeremy Swayman because listen, the Bruins made this a business decision when they brought him to arbitration, and it bothered him. So now he's doing it to them. Hey, bro, this has probably happened in your life. This happens. This is like a real life. This isn't just sports. This is your money we're talking about.
I understand. Been there, done that, but
yeah. See, so you should understand. Now, the Skaz, your pushback about the Mark Lewis podcast, legit. Sometimes when it comes to that, the players, I get it. Like, he was just doing a podcast, so I didn't look at it as, ooh, this is bad. But I think because of the social media and the podcast and stuff, and Sweeney was a little sensitive about that. And I wonder, and now I'm starting to think about it, the Bruins have paid everybody. They gave guys who didn't deserve deals.
The quiet one, Danton Heinen's been brought back.
Everyone's gotten deals, so it's like
I'm a Dan Heinen guy too. I think he's all right. But yes, they pay just about everybody.
I didn't realize we're up against it because I know we got Bruins hockey. Let's take a quick break here. I'm Joe Murray, 98.5 The Sports Hub.
More Joe Murray coming up on the Sports Hub.
right, back here at 98.5 The Sports Hub. I'm Joe Murray. Bruins hockey coming up in about 5 minutes. We'll hand it off to Ryan Johnson and Bob Beers. Philadelphia tonight at home. The fellow that said, you don't understand. He agreed with not trading a goalie right now. Also, he said technically Cam Neely said 64 million reasons. It doesn't mean it was money. So I guess that's I guess you could throw that one out there too. So Bruins though made a couple of cuts. Fabian Lysell, all the names that you thought were going to fill the roles were all dropped down to Providence. So I thought that was fairly interesting. And just looking at tonight, it's Zaga, Lindholm, Pasternak, Coyle, Geeky, Marchand, Brazeau, Tyler Johnson, Frederick, and then Kastelik, Kepke. That's right. This kid's been pretty good. And then Beecher. And then Lindholm, McAvoy, Lowry, Carlo, and Zadorov and Peak. Bussy will be in net. He struggled last game. So let's see how that one goes. Skaz, you missed a big trade, bro. You were gone. It was Friday night at 10:20 p.m., and the news came that the New York Knicks will be acquiring Karl Anthony Towns, and he would go to the Knicks.